From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, gunmen attack a church service in Kogi State, abduct the pastor, his wife, and an unconfirmed number of congregants. Bishop Matthew Kuka advocates a communal approach to resolve some conflicts, as the Bible recognizes alternative dispute resolution as a mechanism for resolving issues. Citadel Church lead pastor Tunde Bakare faults federal lawmakers for failing to address Nigeria's escalating insecurity and rising public fear. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu formally requests a presidential pardon from Isaac Herzog as he continues to battle long-running corruption allegations. Security seems to take center stage on the news at 10 tonight, a matter that concerns us as citizens and as a nation, as gunmen have now attacked the newly established Cherubim and Seraphim Church in Ejigba in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State, abducting the pastor, his wife, and an unconfirmed number of congregants. The armed assailants reportedly stormed the church during a service. They sparked panic before whisking away their victims. In response to this, the Kogi State government says it has intensified security surveillance patrols and a coordinated manhunt to track down the attackers. The State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo, adds that Governor Usman Ododo is personally overseeing security efforts and is asking residents to remain vigilant and promptly report suspicious movements or individuals to authorities. Sadly, in another part of the country, a bride-to-be, her bridesmaids, and 8 others have been abducted by suspected bandits in a fresh attack on Chacho village in Wurno local government area of Sokoto State. The incident occurred at about 1:30 a.m. today when armed men stormed the community. And according to residents, the bride was preparing for her wedding today, which was scheduled for later, when the attackers struck and abducted the victims, all of whom are women, except for one man. According to them, security operatives were alerted during that attack, but they arrived about an hour after the gunmen had fled. The spokesman of Sokoto State Police Command, DSP Ahmed Rufai, confirmed the attack, noting the preliminary information has been received and further details are being compiled. The Nigerian Air Force says that it has intensified its precision air operations across the northwest and the northeastern region, launching targeted attacks that dismantled terror hideouts and neutralized several fleeing insurgents. In a statement, the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Hime Jodame, reveals that air interdictions successfully hit the stronghold of a notorious terrorist kingpin behind repeated kidnappings, violent raids, and livestock rustling in Kankara, Faskari, and Malmafashi areas of Katsina State. A second wave of airstrikes reportedly destroyed another major terrorist enclave in Danfako, Faskari local government area, flattening logistics hubs, operational structures and equipment, and eliminating multiple fighters. And Air Commodore Ejodame also says that Air Force aircraft also repelled a coordinated ISWAP Boko Haram assault on Chibok in Borno State, preventing what could have been another tragic attack in the state. And to solve some of these problems, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Kuka, believes that not all conflict should end in the courtroom. He's advocating communal approach to resolve some of the conflicts, stating that the Bible recognizes alternative dispute resolution as a mechanism for resolving issues. The clergyman was speaking at the 2025 Alternative Dispute Resolution Conference held in Abuja. He also argues that adversarial justice system does not promote reconciliation, but its primary goal is victory and not healing.
The 2025 Annual Conference of the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators focuses on alternative dispute resolution with the theme Behavioral Patterns and Societal Disintegration, Mediation as an Option for Social Cohesion.
Professor who was there, he says
Alternative dispute resolution involves arbitration, mediation, conciliation and negotiation processes increasingly used across Nigeria to settle conflicts outside the courtroom. With growing disputes across different sectors, the special guest of honor proposes the adoption of alternative dispute resolution to resolve conflicts.
Where James says the first question is, what are all these wars among you? He's talking to the Christian community. Why all these wars? And that question, if you pose it, you can deal with the problem of Ukraine, you can deal with the problem of Sudan, you can deal with the problem of any and every conflict anywhere in the world. National unity or national cohesion applies or employs all kinds of strategies. So we're not going to become united because somebody has written a text that all of us should be united. No. Nations have to invent a myth. Usually, most people respond to unity by virtue of a myth. It's not about rationality. Sometimes the brain and the heart don't connect.
Legal experts believe alternative dispute resolution and mediation should be embedded into every facet of the society.
This is a time where all well-meaning Nigerians should come together and try to find constructive solutions, dialogue to find a way to deal with the issues that are stifling our development, the issues that are resulting in insecurity in the country and bringing about tension.
Nigerians should key into peace. Nigerians should listen to advocates where we will resolve issues without fighting, where we will join hands with mediators, institutes of this nature to bring peace than fighting. Because fighting does not bring good thing. Fighting does not bring development. Fighting will always scatter us.
Globally, alternative mediation continues to gain traction for offering a faster, more flexible and less cumbersome path to resolving disputes, strengthening access to justice and rebuilding trust in societies.
In the meantime, the senior pastor, Citadel Global Community Church, Pastor Tunde Bakare, has been asking questions and proffering solutions to the recent spike of kidnapping and banditry across the nation. Pastor Bakare, who's held a State of the Nation broadcast today in Lagos within the Citadel Church premises, while acknowledging the security issues precedes this administration, asked the government to urgently intervene.
It's a stain on the Nigerian government that it took the threat of external intervention to rouse leaders to their responsibilities. It's a shame on our National Assembly that it took the United States Congress, not the representatives elected by Nigerians, to convene a hearing on the lived experiences of citizens suffering under insecurity, while those in Abuja were busy with politicking, posturing for political relevance, defecting from one political party to another in their desperate maneuvers to secure their seats ahead of the 2027 elections. It's indeed a shame that Nigeria's foreign affairs architecture failed all the while to mobilize Nigeria's dwindling diplomatic goodwill to secure international support for the war on terror, only to respond with excuses when that goodwill reached its lowest ebb. Within this short-term period, the following additional objectives must be pursued under the leadership of the President and the relevant members of his team. Number one, acknowledge the responsibility of the Nigerian state. This will entail the President owning the failure of government over the decades to protect the victims and survivors of banditry, terrorism, and other forms of insecurity. Number two, given context to the declaration of emergency on security, it is commendable that barely 24 hours after a recommendation by former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, that the President should declare a nationwide security emergency, the President has acted swiftly in his own way. In the short term, measures must be taken to prevent further mass kidnappings. In addition to beefing up security, number three, maximizing paramilitary structures It is a fact that we do not have enough boots on the ground to respond to the demands across the country. The President's efforts at mass recruitment into the police and armed forces are meant to address this deficit.
The Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria are advocating the need for strengthened collaboration and innovative approach to reinforce ongoing national efforts and curb security across Nigeria. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the chairman, interim caretaker management committee of the association, retired Major General Elvis Njoko, says the association is ready to partner with conventional security agencies through structured information sharing, community surveillance, and technology-driven solutions.
The Minister of State for Defense, Mr. Bello Matawali, is joined by officials of the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria and its strategic partner, DMG Events, for the unveiling of the Africa International Defense Exhibition.
But I would like to ask
The first ever Africa International Defense Exhibition will feature 30,000 attendees that will showcase their defense and security capabilities across air, land, sea, and other security components. The event is a partnership between Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria and its strategic partner, DMG Events.
Together, we will work unreservedly to create a truly global platform and a platform that serves as a catalyst for collaboration, industrial growth, and strategic dialogue.
The AfriDex 2026 will serve as a strategic platform to showcase Nigeria's evolving defense industrial capabilities while opening opportunities for investment, industrial partnerships, research exchange, and local capacity development.
The federal government believes Nigeria holds one of the most influential positions in Africa's defense landscape, and the defense minister is promising that the country will continue to strengthen local capabilities in response to evolving regional challenges.
AfriDex 2026 presents the world with an opportunity to appreciate the potentials and resourcefulness of the African defense market. It underscores the continental and determination to emerge as a responsible and proactive partner in addressing contemporary security challenges, such as terrorism, transnational crime, and emerging hybrid threats. The event will therefore serve as a bridge between continents, enabling a healthy exchange of technology, expertise, and innovation that will contribute to global peace and security stability.
When it flags off in 2026, the Africa International Defense Exhibition will become an important annual meeting point for policymakers, armed forces, manufacturers, technology innovators, research organizations, and international delegations.
In part two, after the break, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka urges federal government to promote nationwide security awareness policies to curb growing insecurity, especially school attacks. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Gunmen attack a church service in Kogi State, abduct the pastor, his wife, and an unconfirmed number of congregants. Bishop Matthew Kuka advocates a communal approach to resolve some conflicts, as the Bible recognizes alternative dispute resolution as a mechanism for resolving issues. Citadel Church lead pastor Tunde Bakare faults federal lawmakers for failing to address Nigeria's escalating insecurity and rising public fear. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu formally requests a presidential pardon from Isaac Herzog as he continues to battle long-running corruption allegations. As violent attacks on schools continue to shock Nigerians. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has asked the government to implement policies that instill security awareness among citizens. Speaking at a visit to his alma mater, Government College, Ibadan, Professor Soyinka called for stronger security measures in schools to protect an education system already under severe strain. He emphasizes that in a society where learning is encouraged, security must be treated with utmost seriousness, so much that so it becomes a standalone subject taught in schools, equipping students with essential knowledge of safety and protection.
It was a memorable homecoming for Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. At Government College Ibadan, where old boys and students alike celebrated the institution's rich history. For Soyinka, nostalgia took him down memory lane, revisiting the hallways and memories of his formative years. The College Museum, the venue of the event, offered students a glimpse into the school's illustrious past and inspired them with a legacy of greatness that preceded them. Addressing old boys and students' representatives, Professor Soyinka urged everyone to value every form of education, however basic.
Never discard any form of knowledge acquisition, no matter in what rudimentary form. You never know when that piece of knowledge will come in useful. And in any case, in the process, you discover that most disciplines are related to one another. That physics is related also to the arts, there's chemistry, related even to philosophy, the idea of ideas. Once you discover that principle, amazing what other discoveries you make, even in subjects which seem unrelated.
He also warned that rising kidnappings affect all sectors, stressing that when insecurity escalates, decisive measures are needed to prevent a recurrence.
One which I know, kind of complacent atmosphere that is left to surround, in which students, pupils are compelled to study. That we've got to break that. That means losing, unfortunately, some of the ease with which we operate, with which we interact. I'm talking about taking security as a personal issue.
The president of the Government College Ibadan Old Boys Association, Mr. Wale Babalake, praised Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde for concessioning the school to the alumni, enabling upgrades that restore its tradition of excellence.
What drove us to come in to reposition the school? We believe that by coincidence of life, we have the best education provided by the founders of Government College Ibadan.
The GCI OBA president also encourages young Nigerians to take their education seriously and called on stakeholders to provide platforms and support that nurture students into responsible, higher achieving citizens. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
Well, earlier this week, President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency on security. President Tinubu also asked citizens not to give in to fear, assuring that the fight against insecurity will be won. The question that is now on the lips of many is, when will the fight against insecurity be won? Tonight, Babajide Ogunsawo, who is the founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's chief data analyst, is here to share more facts and vital insight on Nigeria's state of emergency on security and what could come next. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the News at 10.
Yeah, good evening, Anne.
Now, this isn't the first time a state of emergency will be declared on security. What makes this time different?
So you're right. This isn't the first time. It had first happened in 1962. Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa had declared a state of emergency based on what was happening in the action group. It again happened in 1967 under General Yakubu Gowon when we were about to go into a civil war. It again happened under President Jonathan in 2013. So yes, this isn't the first time. However, what makes this certainly different, especially if you remember how it was done when President Jonathan declared the state of emergency, there was a State of the Nation address. This time around, we see the president doing this online. Again, when President Jonathan declared that state of emergency in May 2013, he had before then declared state of emergencies at about 15 local governments before he went on to declare a state of emergency in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe. This time around, the president didn't do that. He declared a state of emergency straight at the national level. So we can clearly see difference. President Jonathan talked about, during that state of emergency address, that he was going to be doing a proclamation and sending some information to the National Assembly for concurrence. We didn't get that in this message from President Tinubu. So we clearly see differences. But again, let's look at our history. If we take a look at the timelines, right from the different types of state of emergencies, it allows us to understand that a state of emergency has been happening, especially in this Fourth Republic. Remember, under Obasanjo, Plateau, Ekiti, Jonathan, in December 2011, I declared the state of emergency across 15 local governments before that May 2013 nationwide address. President Buhari had also declared a state of emergency, but it wasn't on security. I declared a state of emergency on water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. And from President Tinubu, we clearly remember what happened earlier this year in Rivers. But beyond this, there are some things that we should highlight as essential in President Jonathan's state of the emergency address, because three major things come out as strong points that are still relevant even till today, even though this is now a dozen years after that state of emergency was declared. And if we look at the highlights of President Jonathan's speech in declaring that state of message, 10 minutes nationwide address, some things come out clearly. He had made sure that the Chief of Defense Staff was directed to immediately deploy more troops to states. This time around, the president is ordering what should be done. The details of this proclamation will also be transmitted to the National Assembly in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. That was the President Jonathan's approach. The president this time around doesn't seem to be taking that approach. At least no mentions of that was seen in his message. But finally, one thing we should remember President Jonathan said, which we should remember, is that these terrorists and insurgents seem determined to establish control and authority over parts of our beloved nation and to progressively overwhelm the rest of the country. And this was in 2013, progressively to overwhelm the rest of the country. Now, what we've seen in the last dozen years is these statements coming to pass. We've seen a progression in this state of terrorist acts. One thing, however, that President Tinubu needs to also make sure is that his standard and the quality checks of his communication needs to be even more thorough. We look at the official message from President Tinubu in this letter that he talked about the state of emergency, and you can clearly see a repetition in two areas. The same paragraph, copy and paste, and this sort of low standards cannot and shouldn't be allowed from his handlers, whereby we see a repetition in a communication as important as a state of emergency address, where we're seeing a copy and paste, and that same communication goes out as the president's official message. So we need to really get the president to review the processes and the quality control over the messages that come out from his office.
But let's talk about beyond the domestic security concerns in Nigeria. I know many Nigerians are concerned about this, but what is the external perception of the security situation in Nigeria?
Now, there isn't really good news if we talk about the external perception. The Armed Conflict and Location Event Data Outlet makes it clear that Nigeria is currently among the top 10 countries in the world with the most fatalities. If you take a look at their data, there are some reasons to be worried. Yes, we are not number one. Number one on that list still is Ukraine. However, Nigeria is number 5 on the list of countries with the most fatalities this year in 2025. So we need to make sure that we get out of this list as soon as possible. The challenge with that list is 80% of global terrorism fatalities occur in these 10 countries in front of us. So the first responsibility which the armed forces and the security agencies say they're also doing is to make sure that the number of attacks and the casualties from these attacks significantly declines.
But another thing security agencies are doing is intensifying operations resulting in the security and securing the abducted and kidnapped victims and arresting some of the wanted terrorists. But from what you know and from what you have seen in the past, do you think that this momentum can be sustained?
Yes, this momentum can be sustained. And earlier this week as well, the Chief of Defense Staff, who is relatively new, General Olufemi Oluyede, has made it clear that among all the other states that will be emphasizing and intensifying security operations, Kwara and Kogi will be having special ground operations. You might ask, why Kwara and Kogi? And I think I'll take you into the data that also kind of justifies why Kwara and Kogi are states of special concern. Again, looking at the data from the Armed Conflict Location and Event data, they say that there are 10 states in Nigeria that account for 80% of all terrorism-related casualties. You heard me right. 10 states. These are the 10 states in front of you. These 10 states account for most of all the challenges we face. The real concern is, if you study the regions, you will notice that prior to now, the Northeast was Nigeria's problem. From ACLED, they say there's only one state in the Northeast right now that's among these 10 states, and that's Borno. There are 4 states in the North Central, and there are 5 states in the Northwest. So the challenge we are facing is really what exactly is going on in the West. So the epicenter of terrorism right now has moved from Northeast Nigeria to West Nigeria. Again, why is Kwara and Kebbi states quite important? Yes, Kwara and Kebbi states are 2 states that are among these top 10. However, if you look at the numbers, last year, January to October, number of fatalities due to terrorism in Kwara State, 17. This year, January to October, 205. Over 1,000% increase. Same thing with Kebbi, from 25 to 169, over 500% increase. On a regional perspective, the numbers also are similar. The Northwest, 36% of all fatalities this year. The Northeast, 34%. The North Central, 21%. The challenge is Kwara and Kogi. And don't forget, Kogi State currently borders 10 states. So if we aren't able to quickly resolve the concerns in Kogi, 10 other states will be affected. All
right, quickly, Babajide, before we go, I know that some state governments, Oyo, Osun, Ogun, and Lagos, are already taking serious steps in tackling insecurity in their region, but that's on the state level. So when you look at what should be done from the government level, beyond the state of emergency, what other card can President Tinubu play?
President Tinubu can actually go for the other card of more military operations in the state, which is even intensifying, similar to what President Jonathan did, declaring a state of emergency at the state level, which means we'll see more military administration and more military operations within the states. We are not at that level yet, but it's a card that the president could play. Again, you talked about, that popular word, ICU, intensive care unit. We are currently not at the state, but the Chief of Defense Staff has also talked about ICU, but ICU in terms of initiative, courage, and understanding. And if you take a look at the remarks he made earlier this week as well, when all of this was going on, he's made it clear that this nation is only as strong as the initiative we show, the courage we carry, the understanding we build, and the loyalty we give. ICU. But above all, there are 2 things that we should take out tonight. The first is, don't forget, 80% of all terrorist attacks and fatalities currently occur in 10 states. And that is the Pareto principle. We need to focus on these 10 states and look at the trends that are going on within the local governments within the states. And
thank you very much. Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's Chief Data Analyst. Thanks for your analysis on the news at 10.
Hopefully we'll do this again.
We will do it again. Still ahead on the news at 10. Outside our shores, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu formally requests a presidential pardon from Isaac Herzog as he continues to battle long-running corruption allegations. That's on the foreign scene. Please stay with us. Welcome Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. The federal government and the Cross River State government have launched a nationwide coordinated pre-hospital and in-hospital emergency care system. The National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System says the initiative will strengthen emergency response across Nigeria, ensuring the victims receive faster medical assistance. The program also tackles deadly delays that often prevent vulnerable Nigerians from accessing timely care, whether due to inability to pay or difficulty in reaching these hospitals.
For years, vulnerable Nigerians, including accident victims, pregnant women, and children, have faced life-threatening delays in accessing urgent medical care. Many are turned away due to upfront payment requirements, while others struggle to reach hospitals because of poor roads, long distances, and limited transportation, particularly in rural areas. These barriers have led to countless preventable deaths, as victims often wait too long before receiving life-saving treatment. To address this, the federal government, in partnership with Cross River State, has launched a program providing up to 48 hours of free emergency care. This initiative removes financial barriers that have long prevented the poor from accessing urgent treatment when it matters most.
If it tells us, get out of this hall.
The program includes both pre-hospital ambulance response and in-hospital stabilization, ensuring patients receive immediate care without worrying about costs.
To support the existing system.
Collaboration between federal and state authorities involves mapping qualified facilities, training responders, and integrating ambulance systems into a national platform, ensuring faster, more effective emergency health care.
The government should be tired of hearing people being left to die because they have one injury or one gunshot injury or any other act of violence and they are abandoned in hospitals. This makes Cross River State come full swing to ensure that any injury sustained in circumstances of emergency, whether it's fire incidents or road traffic accidents, are given the prompt attention they require, including health services in the hospital. That is what the ambulance system is all about. And for us, again, it is a way of expanding universal health coverage to a particular group of sick people, emergency patients.
Cross River State officials emphasize that the mission is clear: bring emergency health care closer to the people, strengthen health security, and give vulnerable Nigerians a fighting chance during emergencies.
With this, we are ensuring you that it's going to be pre-hospital care, and that is an ambulance transport system. Both public and private ambulances are pulled together under an umbrella of the Cross River State Emergency Medical Service to ensure that whenever you request for an ambulance using a number, it's supposed to be the 112 number and also an alternate number the Cross River State government will provide, anybody that needs emergencies will be picked to a hospital that is ready to serve the patient.
With the system now active, government officials reaffirm their goal: strengthen health security, save more lives, and ensure emergency health care reaches all Nigerians, especially the poor and vulnerable.
Air transport in Bayelsa State appears to have reached a major milestone as the state government has flagged off its first official commercial flight into the state-owned airport. For residents and business travelers long accustomed to limited and irregular services, this inaugural operation signals Bayelsa's move towards full aviation integration and stronger regional connectivity. The maiden flight from Abuja to Yenagoa touched down to cheers from government officials, industry stakeholders, and excited citizens.
Excitement filled the air at the Bayelsa International Airport as the state celebrated the first official commercial landing of its own aircraft, marking a long-anticipated leap toward the fully operational state-backed airline service. The flight from Abuja did more than complete the route. It signaled the rebirth of an airport that for years offered only limited operations in the absence of a dedicated carrier. On the tarmac, cultural displays, music and cheery crowds sets the stage as dignitaries, led by Governor Doye welcomed the historic touchdown many described as Bayelsa's dream finally airborne. In usual tradition in the aviation sector, a water cannon salute welcomes the new plane to the Bayelsa airport. The managing director of Bayelsa Airport Limited says the aircraft, operated under Pioneer Airlines, is now positioned to deliver steady and reliable service across the Niger Delta.
With 72-seater capacity, operating out of Bayelsa on a daily basis, we are sure that Pioneer will be able to spread her wings across the Niger Delta region effectively.
Representatives of regional bodies like the NDDC emphasize that the launch is not only symbolic but a strategic boost to economic integration.
Since the management is having short trips across the region, we in Niger Delta, we're going to be, the NDDC is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries, and we're going to discuss partnership with the airline to see how it is going to help the people of the Niger Delta.
Also in attendance was the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, who stressed the need for disciplined management to ensure sustainability.
You know, and the only way we can sustain the Bayelsa airline is not to treat it the way Nigeria Airways was treated.
For Governor Doye, the milestone reflects the state's growing capacity, ambition, and commitments to expanding economic opportunities.
These aircrafts mark a decisive step in strengthening our state's aviation capacity and expanding the economic horizon of Bayelsa. You have the full support of my government to sustain this investment and to build on it. I cut this tip for the Bayelsa Airlines to fly.
With the ribbon now cut, residents eagerly await uninterrupted commercial air services as Bayelsa begins a new era in aviation.
Let's not concentrate the weight on one side, please.
A total of 1,800 students have graduated from various degrees from Madonna University, one of Nigeria's leading private institutions. At the 23rd convocation ceremony in Elele, River State, the founder and chancellor, Professor Emmanuel Matthew Ede, credited the achievements of the university's management's commitment to fostering both academic and moral excellence among its students.
To respect our graduates. Madonna University in Elele, River State celebrates its 23rd convocation ceremony, marking a major milestone in Nigeria's private university education system. The procession of graduates, awardees, staff and management, along with the convocation mass, officially opened the ceremony.
You are welcome. Our graduates, we are happy with you.
Among the 1,800 graduates receiving academic honors, 120 achieved first-class distinctions.
Madonna University has maintained.
Vice-Chancellor Professor Netanyahu emphasizes the university's commitment to fostering all-round development and excellence in its students.
As graduates of Madonna University, always remember you have a name to keep and a reputation to protect. Remember also that a Madonna graduate is morally ahead of others, naturally.
Founder and Chancellor, Professor Emmanuel Matthew Ede, represented by Deputy Vice Chancellor, Admin, Professor Martin Anagboso, highlight that since its establishment in 1999, Madonna University has been a beacon of academic and moral excellence.
Madonna University has an international partnership with 15 foreign universities from 5 continents of the world.
A strong foundation in morals, discipline, integrity, research, and academic excellence. I want to reassure you that we will continue to strengthen our collaborations with NUC and our commitment to advancing quality and sustainable education
in Nigeria.
During the convocation lecture, a representative of the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Femi Edgal, emphasizes that Nigeria's future development depends on fiscal sustainability through enhanced revenue collection.
To have a leap, transformation, to transform Nigeria from where we are to where we want it to be. Those places we are spying on the internet, we're seeing, some of us are traveled to good life. It requires a sustained, increasing and massive flow of revenues into government coffers from taxes.
Graduates were awarded bachelor's, master's, postgraduate diplomas, doctorate, and honorary doctorate degrees. The 120 first-class students received full scholarships to pursue master's degrees at Madonna University.
Today is not merely a celebration of academic excellence. It is the harvest of years of dedication, sacrifice, and perseverance. The scripture says, "Have you seen a man diligent in his work? He will stand before kings." Our presence here signifies the diligence, the discipline, and decency that Madonna University has instilled in us.
Earlier, a representative of the National Universities Commission inaugurated a multi-purpose and innovation complex at the main campus. Founded in 1999 as the first Catholic university in West Africa, Madonna University maintains partnerships with over 14 international universities, aiming to strengthen human capacity development across Nigeria and Africa.
The grand finale of this year's MTN M-Pulse Spelling Bee has concluded in Lagos, with the champion taking home a 5 million naira education grant. The exciting event held at the rooftop Ikoyi brought together the nation's top 20 spellers under the watchful eyes of MTN management, students and their proud parents. The winner was determined through a round-robin elimination format, where a single misspelling could end a participant's journey, adding intensity and suspense to the competition.
The MTN M-Pulse Spelling Bee, an annual national competition for students aged 9 to 15, is part of MTN Nigeria's initiative to empower young minds through digital learning and healthy competition.
Woo! Thank you, and welcome to your seats. Our top 20 finalists.
Ahead of the grand finale, MTN Nigeria's Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Babalola Oyeleye, highlights the exciting prizes and opportunities awaiting the contestants.
We bring you all together, and we want to see who is going to come out as the most exceptional speller in Nigeria. And that person, is going to go home with 5 million naira educational grant. They will also go home with a smartphone, they'll go home with a laptop. Their teacher will also get a prize.
Participants drawn from primary and secondary schools and registered on the M-Pulse platform navigate a rigorous 5-stage contest leading up to the grand finale.
A place where plays are performed. Theatre.
Theatre. Theatre. That's correct.
KPMG supervised the final judging to ensure fairness. The stakes included a 5 million naira educational grant, an ICT lab for the winner's school, and the prestigious MTN CEO for a Day experience, designed to inspire academic excellence and leadership amongst Nigerian youth. The 2025 winner, Oreoluwa Oyeleye, expresses gratitude to MTN for the opportunity and excitement about her reward to lead MTN as a CEO for a day.
I would like to thank current MTN CEO, for at least leaving his position for one day to give a teenager to grow, to develop, and to learn more. For anyone listening, don't rely totally on one source, but gather information from different places and study hard.
Now this is seventh edition, 7 winners. So we start to see how they're growing and they're evolving, see as they're progressing with their education. And again, it's really to just continue to build up our youth, and to reinforce our belief in the future of Nigeria.
MTN emphasizes that the competition goes beyond spelling, serving as a platform to nurture future innovators, leaders, and critical thinkers, while reinforcing the company's commitment to holistic youth development in Nigeria.
Co-Creation Hub, in partnership with Mastercard Foundation, has finalized the acceleration of the 2025 EdTech Fellowship Cohort 3 with a demo day right here in Lagos to bridge the educational gap and transform the learning outcomes in Africa. That event brought together innovators, policymakers, investors, and ecosystem partners who are committed to shaping the future of learning in Nigeria, which also served as a platform for the 12 participating startups to demonstrate their products, share evidence of their progress, and explore pathways to scale through strategic partnerships and investments.
6 months. This demo day provides an opportunity for everyone present to hear from participating tech startups on accomplishments by members of the Mastercard Foundation EdTech Fellowship in collaboration with Co-Creation Hub in Lagos.
At the start of the foundation, which is
the 2025 cohort of 12 startups, which reached over 21,000 learners, consisting of 90% children and youth, with 55% female representation across Nigeria, is born out of the need to bridge the educational gap in Africa.
What we're doing is, yes, you cannot get granular information, but can you get high-level information? So you're doing one exercise, it's like a game, but you're playing it with the whole class.
We have just built, in addition to the mobile app, one of the best goal-setting apps in Nigeria. Mark my word.
Through the Mastercard Foundation in partnership with CC Hub, an ecosystem has been created to empower individuals and startups, conditions that will enable young people to attain inclusive and relevant education, taking learning to the unreached.
the entire goal was ensuring that we're able to optimize the offline CBT and our live classroom. And today I tell you that we've been able not just to optimize these features, but we are scaling them already across Africa.
This demo day serves as a proud moment for CC Hub because it showcases what intentional innovation truly looks like in action, said Nisi Madu, managing partner at Co-Creation Hub.
This is our third cohort. We've done 3 cohorts, right? And out of these 3 cohorts, we've reached over 1 million plus learners. 1 million plus is a lot. We're excited about it, but just a drop in the ocean in terms of the number of young people who truly need these solutions, and we need to empower with this improved learning outcome. So this is really day one. Beyond this accelerator, there's the post-acceleration stage where we're still supporting them with making sure that they can scale their solutions. So still looking forward to the impact that they're going to create.
We know that there are hubs in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Togo, and so on. And so a part of our strategy over the next 3 to 5 years is support those hubs to strengthen their own models, to strengthen their own methodologies, so that they can be as effective as we all can be to strengthen the Pan-African impact.
The fellowship continues to serve as a powerful catalyst for inclusive innovation as Co-Creation Hub, in partnership with Mastercard Foundation, commit to further advance Africa's economic prosperity by accelerating the application of technology to the improvement of education in the continent.
Let's delve into the world of sports now, where Ikorodu City have reclaimed the lead in the top 10, the top of the Nigeria Premier Football League table, following a 1-0 win against Abia Warriors in a matchday 15 clash played at the Mobolaji Arena in Lagos. Chidera Oparocha scored the only goal of the game in the 69th minute to move the Lagos-based team top with 27 points from 15 games. Warri Wolves beat Nasarawa United 1-0, but the Solid Miners are second on 27 points, with Ikorodu City enjoying a superior goals difference. Con Califats beat Plateau United 2-0. For Shooting Stars, they beat El Kanemi Warriors 1-0. Barao FC triumphed in 5-goal thriller against Kwara United, and Bayelsa United and Katsina United ended the game with 1-1. Mikel Merino scored and rescued Arsenal as the Premier League leaders battled to a 1-1 draw against 10-man Chelsea in a heavyweight title clash played earlier this evening. Chelsea midfielder was sent off in the 38th minute at Stamford Bridge for a crude foul on Merino. that caught the midfielder on his ankle. Alexander Isak has finally scored his first Premier League goal for the troubled Liverpool to inspire a much-needed 2-0 win at West Ham. Brighton climbed up to 5th place in the Premier League standings with a hard-fought victory against Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. In the early kick-off, Joshua also had scored his first Premier League goal for nearly 1 year before Mason Mount grabbed the winner as Manchester United came from behind to beat Crystal Palace 2-1. England manager Sarina Wiegman is pleased with the resounding 8-0 win over China in an international friendly, saying that her squad is clicking very well ahead of the 2027 Women's World Cup qualifiers. Georgia Stanway scored a hat-trick in the game at Wembley Stadium, but Wiegman believes that there is still room for improvement ahead of their final game in 2025 against Ghana.
What we want to do is come here, show who we are, put a very good performance in, and I think that's what we did today, and I hope everyone enjoyed that. We did, and you know, still we've had in games chances, and we say so many times we want to do better in the final third because we create things, and then the final pass is just not good enough, or we don't score the goal. And today we did that a lot better. We clicked really well, and I also think that at moments China left a little bit too much space, and they were less ruthless than, for example, Brazil was. So that's a combination. But then what I say, you still have to make your runs and be in time at the far post, because I thought we had some great goals also at far post.
We turn our attention to Formula One now, where Max Verstappen has won the Qatar Grand Prix earlier today to set up a final race title showdown with McLaren duo Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. The Red Bull driver kept the wheels on his quest for a 5th successive crown, and that's after pole sitter Piastri finished second and standings leader Norris came only 4th. Verstappen's remarkable late-season surge has lifted him past Piastri and into second position in the championship.
Crucial moment in the Formula One World Championship. Lando Norris is up to 4th position, and the lead will be 12 points through. Still a contender for the Formula One World Championship. Max Verstappen will not be moved. He heads to Abu Dhabi with a fighting chance still to win it all. Grand Prix win number 70 in his career. Piastri comes home in second. Sainz will complete the podium if he gets a clean final turn of the racetrack. We come across the line, and the gap between Max Verstappen.
We turn our attention outside our shores, away from sports. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has asked the Israeli President Isaac Herzog to pardon him over corruption cases he has been battling. The president's office says he will receive opinions from justice officials before considering the request, which carries significant implications. Mr. Netanyahu has been standing trial for the past 5 years on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in connection with 3 separate cases, but he denies any wrongdoing. He said in a video message that he would have preferred to see the process to the end, but the national interest demanded otherwise. Early this month, U.S. President Donald Trump urged the president to fully pardon Mr. Netanyahu. And Indonesia is still searching for at least 400 people who have been missing, many believed to be buried under landslides after a cyclone rains caused disastrous flooding nearly 1 week ago. The death toll on the island of Sumatra has risen to more than 440, and aid has been sent into affected areas by air and sea, but some villagers have yet to receive anything, and there are now reports of people stealing food and water to survive. And the main news again. Gunmen have attacked a church service in Kogi State, abducting the pastor, his wife, and an unconfirmed number of congregants. Bishop Matthew Cook advocates a communal approach to resolve some conflicts, says the Bible recognizes alternative dispute resolution as mechanism for resolving issues. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawade. Good night and have a fruitful week ahead.